Hey everyone, and welcome back to Masterclass Excel. I'm Tom. So today we're going to take a look at a couple things regarding number formatting and also conditional formatting. So imagine you've opened up a small specialty retail boutique. You're tracking your daily sales, your inventory levels, your profit margins, and your monthly goals. So at first, you first open the shop, a few rows of numbers are pretty easy to manage, but you fast forward a few months and your workbook's going to start to look like a bunch of gray static, really boring to look at. It's not really going to give you the story that you want to see in your data. It's just going to give you a headache. So today we're going to try to transform that chaotic data into a more readable story. So by the end of this lesson, you're going to know how to bring raw numbers to life using professional number styles and currency formatting. You're going to learn how to guide your eyes straight to trouble spots by automatically highlighting underperforming months in red using conditional formatting. We're going to add some visual progress bars and color scales that act kind of like a dashboard for your business. And we're going to turn this stressful spreadsheet into an executive-ready report that guides you in your next big business decision. So let's take a step into the shop and fix this up together. All right, so our first stop on this journey is simple: clarity. Right now, our table has a column of numbers. We have the revenue here. We have a number here for the items sold, and here this is supposed to be a percentage of profit margin. Now, just looking at this data, it's a little difficult to tell unless you're constantly looking up at the header to see what each column represents. Without the context, we're kind of guessing and having to constantly refer back up to the header. Now, in Excel, the number format group on the Home tab allows us to assign meaning to our data without changing the underlying value. So for example, when we select our revenue column, I'm going to select the whole column by just clicking the C for column C. And now if I go up here, this is revenue. We want to see this as a currency. Excel defaults to dollars. You can see if you hit the drop down, there's a few other options such as euros, British pounds, but we want to see dollars. So we're going to just go ahead and click the button. And here we go. We can easily tell now, even if we scroll down, we'd lose our headers, but we can still tell these are dollar amounts just because of the way the number is formatted. Now for items sold, we're going to leave that column alone. This gives a clear picture of what this column is representing. These are whole numbers, each number representing the number of items that was sold. The profit margin column, however, this is not 0.18. What we want to see here is 18%. So like I did with revenue, I'm going to go ahead and click the E to highlight the entire column. We're going to go back up to our number formatting area on the Home tab, and we're going to click this percentage button. And here we go. Now we've got a nice looking percentage. Suddenly our spreadsheet stops looking like a math test and starts looking like a real business report. Clean alignment and consistent formatting builds instant trust in your numbers. Now, as a shopkeeper, you can't afford to read every single row of a long year report just to find out which month nearly broke your budget. You need some kind of a warning system, something that acts like the check engine light on your car dashboard. This is where conditional formatting changes everything. Unlike the standard formatting that we just did, where each thing stays the same unless we decide to change it, conditional formatting watches your data and changes its appearance dynamically. I'll show you what that means. So now let's set up a rule for our monthly revenue. If any month falls below a certain target, let's say $10,000, that value is going to be highlighted in red. So we'll be able to see without looking at each row what months didn't quite hit the mark. So I'm going to highlight the revenue column. And now instead of the number formatting, we're going to go to the right here. There's a conditional formatting drop down. And there are several options here. We're going to hover over highlight cell rules. We're going to say less than. So we want to see everything in here that is less than $10,000. And it's automatically going to highlight it in dark red. You can pick your color, but since these are numbers that are considered to be bad, below our standards, we're going to keep it red. Say, okay, you can see it's already done what we asked it to do. So glancing at this spreadsheet, automatically you'll see which months didn't quite make the quota that we were looking for. And as I said, this is dynamic. So for example, let's say I accidentally typed in the wrong amount here. For April 2024, we did better than 6,400. We did 10,400. And dynamically, the red goes away because this value is now higher than the threshold that we entered in the conditional formatting field. I'm going to undo that, Control Z, just to get our data back the way it was. Now your spreadsheet is no longer a static archive, it's an active assistant pointing right to where your attention is needed. Now let's take a look at data bars. Highlighting your bad months in red is helpful, but what if we want to see the full spectrum of our performance? To do that, we can utilize data bars and color scales. So let's use the item sold column here, and we're going to go back up to conditional formatting on the Home tab. Instead of highlight cell rules, where we added the red colors to everything below $10,000 in the revenue column, we are instead going to go down to the data bar section. Data bars are basically going to give you miniature bar graphs in each cell that reflect visually what the number is with reference to every other number in that column. So let's see what that looks like. We're on data bars. We've got two options. We can use a gradient fill, which looks a little bit prettier. I think I'm going to go with that one. And there's also a solid fill. Let's see what happens when we pick a gradient fill. So hovering over the button without even clicking it, Excel will give you a preview of what it'll look like. And as you can see, the higher numbers here have a bar that goes almost to the end of the cell. In the case of the highest number in this column, 377, that blue is actually filling the entire cell. And then for our lower numbers, 104, 98, those are visually filling up less of the bar with whatever color you chose in the data bar section. This gives you a very good visual indicator of what each number is without actually having to read the numbers. I've already got a filter on. If you'll remember from the last episode, we covered using filters in your data set, these drop-down arrows here. I'm going to show you a little bit of a keyboard shortcut, a little bit of a cheat to take that away, Control-Shift-L. And if you want to add your filters, click anywhere inside the data set, and the same keyboard shortcut, Control-Shift-L, will add them back. So now if I sort by item sold, we're going to sort smallest to largest. And as we would expect, the color bar is smaller on the top, and then it grows as the number grows all the way down to the bottom. Control Z to undo that sort. And now we can see the data in the original sort of month and year. So the data bars are basically giving you a miniature bar graph in each cell of your data in a given column, depending on what you're asking for. And we can also apply color scales. Color scales is also giving you a visual representation of the data in the column that you're choosing, but in a little bit different way. So let's take a look at what the color scale is going to look like. Again, I'm going to highlight column D, and let's go back to conditional formatting. We're not going to pick data bars. Instead, we're going to go for color scales. And let's just hover over that first option and see what it shows. So you can see what it's doing here is it's anticipating that green is a good thing, red is a not so good thing. In this case, it's guessing correctly. Green is corresponding here to the highest number of items sold, and the more red, orange colors are highlighting the fewest items sold, such as 98 in row 5. I want to select this, but let's just hover over some of these other options first. This option is going red, yellow, green, so it's kind of giving us the opposite that we would want, unless for some reason you're thinking that red is a good and green is bad. And in this case, this might be the option that you want to go for. There's also a green, white, red color scale. Doesn't really look very useful for what we're trying to accomplish here. This same kind of thing, only in the reverse. I think we want to go with that first option that we covered. I think we want to go for that first option that we hovered over. It seems to make the most sense for what we want to see. Now, I don't think this looks very neat. I don't like seeing the data bar, the blue gradient bar, and the color scales at the same time. I think I'd rather see the color scales only, because that gives a really good visual indication of what the numbers in this column are representing, good or bad. So let's highlight column D. We're going to go to conditional formatting, and if we want to take off the data bars, we'll go down here to manage rules. What it's doing here is it's showing us the different conditional formatting rules that we've applied to this column. So you can see our gradient color scale, which is what we do want to see. We've also got the data bar, which is that blue bar graph looking visual indicator. So let's click data bar, and we're going to go up here to delete the rule. And you'll notice nothing happened yet because we haven't said OK. You can click apply and then click OK, or you can just click OK. We're going to click OK. And now the data bars have gone away. This is much cleaner to look at, and you still have a very visual indication of what the data in this column represents. Now, say as your boutique is growing, the expectations of your shops maybe are a little bit different. So maybe you say you want to raise the threshold for the revenue. For example, we previously put in $10,000 does not get highlighted, everything below that does. Let's say we're raising our expectations for the store. So we're going to come back over to conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, less than, and we're going to change this value from the 10,000 that it was. Let's bring it up to 12,000. Now we've got a lot more red here because there are a lot more months where we weren't making more than $12,000. Now this goes the other way too, and the assumption we've been making in this exercise is that green is good, red is bad. So if I highlight the revenue column, I'm going to go to conditional formatting, manage rules, and now again it's showing you all the rules that we've set up here. We can delete both of these that were less than 12,000, less than 10,000, and say OK. And now we've cleared out the conditional formatting for numbers less than a certain value in this column. Let's go in the other direction. We want to see what months were really good, what months made more than $12,000 in revenue. So I've got my column highlighted. I'll go to conditional formatting, and we're going to do the highlight cell rules again. This time we're going to say greater than. And we want it to be greater than $12,000. Now that's showing us red. We don't want to see red. Let's make it green because this is a good thing. We want to see a yes, this is good indicator for the numbers that are higher than our threshold of $12,000. And now there we have it. And you'll notice that the green tends to correspond to the more yellowy greeny colors in our color scale under items sold. This is because naturally as you're selling more items, you tend to be making more revenue. So once you've got some kind of conditional formatting applied to your spreadsheet, any changes you ever want to make, you just highlight the column you want to make them in, go to your conditional formatting, and then go down to manage rules. And again, it'll show you every rule that's built into the column that you've selected. We'll close that, and if we highlight item sold, conditional formatting, manage rules, and it'll show you that our color scale there is the conditional formatting applied to this column, and we can go ahead and make any changes we want. We can delete it, etc. So let's now compare what we were given and what we've turned it into. Let's look at the original data. It looks like this. The numbers are all not really giving you much information. Nothing really pops. All you've got is a bunch of information here. It's not necessarily very easy to understand or tell the story. We go back and take a look at the changes that we made. We now have currency formatting for the revenue column. The profit margin column now has nice looking percentages, and we've applied some conditional formatting so that our higher numbers for revenue each month really pop, and we can also see a color scale for the number of items sold each month. This is much more polished, and it tells more of a story than the bland set of data that we were starting off with. We took an old, boring looking data set and turned it into a clear, professional story of a business really in motion. So now you know how to apply precise number formats. You can set up automatic warning lights for underperforming months, and conversely highlight the months that did really well. And we can use data bars to visualize trends at a glance. These formatting techniques are the bridge between the raw data entry and the real professional storytelling. I encourage you to practice these skills on your own spreadsheets, and I'll see you in the next lesson where we're going to talk about tables, what they are, and why they're just about the best thing in Excel when you're dealing with data. See you next time.